Good morning, students of Standard 10. Today we are going to continue the chapter on circulation of blood and human being, and we are going to discuss today about the heart. Now, in human heart, the heart is 4-chambered, and in every organism, if you see from lower to higher organism, the chambers of the heart increases. So, more the chamber of the heart, better the way of circulation. As because you know that in human being there is complete separate flow of the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. There is no mixing of the blood takes place in human being, particularly in 4-chambered heart like in human being, birds, etc. In lower organisms like fishes have 2-chambered heart, and that reptiles, amphibians have 3-chambered heart, reptiles have 3-chambered incomplete heart except crocodile, and in aves and human being and vertebrates there are 4-chambered heart. Now the heart in human being is located in the just between the two lungs, in the thoracic chamber, with the ventricle tilted little bit towards the left side. That's why we feel the heartbeat more towards the left side. The human heart is the size of a fist, and you know that this is located in the mediastinum, just in between, below the you can say the sternum, okay, little bit lower portion, and that is mainly it is like say for example the location of the lungs are like this. And this is the left lung and this is the right lung. The heart is located somewhat here. So the ventricle is tilted towards the left lung. So that's why we feel the heartbeat more in the thoracic cavity towards the left. And so this is the location of the heart. And the heart is covered by a membrane which we call the pericardial membrane. Now there are this pericardial membrane has outer parietal pericardium and inner visceral pericardium. In between there is a fluid called the pericardial fluid. Now this fluid lubricates the heart, makes the heart move very smoothly. And now let us know about the heart, the anatomy of the heart. The heart is made up of a special type of muscle called the cardiac muscles. So if you see here, this is showing the section of the heart. So it has 4 chambers. This is the chamber which we when we see the heart, we are seeing our own heart. So this is the left side. This is called a left auricle, and this particular chamber is called the ventricle, and this is the left ventricle. So left auricle, left ventricle, right auricle, and right ventricle. Now, usually, the heart, this auricle is separated by a membrane called the interauricular septum, and the ventricles are separated by interventricular septum. In between the two auricles, usually in the fetal condition, there is a small hole called fossalis ova, which is open when in fetal condition. And sometimes the blood flow through the auricle in fetal condition, but this small hole is closed before the birth of the child. But sometimes this hole remains here, and usually there is a mixing of blood in the auricular region, and that is known as the blue baby. It leads to an abnormal condition where the blood flowing in the artery is more venous. It contains more deoxygenated blood. So in that condition there is a mixing of the blood which takes place in the auricle. Now, if we see the chambers, if you see the ventricles of the heart, we see the left ventricular wall is thicker than the right ventricular wall. Now, there is a specific reason that why this left ventricular wall is thicker than the right ventricular wall. We will discuss it later on. Now, you see, let us discuss about the different blood vessels which are coming towards the heart and the blood vessels which are moving out of the heart. Now you can see this is called the superior vena cava. It brings the deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body, like the limbs and the head region. And this is called the inferior vena cava, or this brings the blood from the lower part of the body, that is maybe from the gastric region, the intestine, the kidney, the gonads, the lower limbs and all. So they bring deoxygenated blood. So this is towards the heart. Another, you can see that towards the heart is the pulmonary vein. These pulmonary veins are 4 in number. You can see 2 here and 2 I have shown from the back. Now this brings the blood from the lungs. So they bring the oxygenated blood from the lungs. Means each of the lung brings this, they bring it and then pour it into the left auricle and it brings oxygenated blood. Remember one thing, that pulmonary vein is the only vein which brings the oxygenated blood, and pulmonary artery is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood. So this is an exception among the artery, because arteries generally carry oxygenated blood and veins carry deoxygenated blood. The exception is pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood, and pulmonary vein which carries oxygenated blood. Now the blood vessels which are leaving the heart, here you can see from the right ventricle this particular blood vessel which is called the pulmonary artery, that goes towards the lung. It goes and then divides in 2 lungs. It carries the deoxygenated blood which has been brought from the body to the lung for oxygenation, and from the lung it becomes oxygenated and comes back to this pulmonary vein. The other vessel is the aorta. Aorta is the largest artery. This also comes out from the left ventricle and it is the biggest artery. Remember, aorta is the biggest artery. It takes a turn like this, and this turn is called the arch of aorta, and goes behind the heart and supplies oxygenated blood to the different organs of the body. So we call this, since it is moving to the dorsal side of the heart, we call this a dorsal aorta. So this is the dorsal aorta which brings the oxygenated blood, or supplies the oxygenated blood here and then supplies to the different organs, dividing into separate blood vessels. Now there are some other blood vessels also, like say for example the coronary artery, which arises from the region of this left auricle and distributes the blood to the heart muscle. It is the artery which supplies mainly oxygenated blood to the heart muscles, because heart muscles also need oxygen. Okay, so they bring the oxygenated blood and then distribute it to the heart muscle. And the coronary sinus, which arises from the ventricular region of the muscles of the heart, and it takes the deoxygenated blood and pours it into the right auricle so that it can be supplied and it can go for oxygenation. So coronary artery and coronary vein, these are the 2 blood vessels. We have to know that coronary artery brings oxygenated blood from the base of the aorta to the ventricular valves and the wall of the ventricle, and coronary sinus, coronary vein takes the deoxygenated blood from the ventricle and pour it into the right auricle. Now let us know about the valves of the heart. Usually you will see that here in between the auricle and the ventricle, right auricle and right ventricle, we call the right auriculoventricular aperture, is guarded by a valve which has 3 cusps. That's why it's called tricuspid. Cusp means flap. This flap hangs like this here in this aperture, and the tip of the flaps are pulled by tendon-like structures called the chordae tendineae. And this chordae tendineae are attached to a type of muscle. Here you can see some raised portion. These are called the papillary muscles, which pull the flap downward, keeping the position of the flap down. On the left side, similarly, you can see here the chordae tendineae are pulling the flap downwards here, and the papillary muscles are also found in the wall of the ventricle. So the main function of this chordae tendineae is to pull the valve towards one side, so that when there is a pressure build up in the ventricle due to larger accumulation of the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood, there should not be a backflow of the blood, because when the ventricles are relaxing or the diastole is taking place, the blood has a tendency to move backward. So if it flows backward, then it will cause some damage, and it usually occurs. People with a problem of a defective valve can have this type of backflow of the blood. The mouth of the aorta and the mouth of the pulmonary arteries are guarded by a type of semilunar, half-moon shaped valve. These are called the aortic semilunar valve, and this is called the pulmonary semilunar valve. So they also prevent the backflow. That means when the blood is coming like this and flowing out, so it should not come back, or the oxygenated blood coming through this and moving out, it should not come back. So this too valve also prevents the backflow of the blood from the pulmonary artery and the aorta respectively. Here also in the superior vena cava there are certain types of valves which are called eustachian valve. This is beyond your scope, you may not know that. Now I started with a question here that why the right ventricular wall is thicker, the left ventricular wall is thicker than the right ventricular wall. This is often asked question. This is because the left ventricle has to push the blood through the aorta, and it has to go to different part of the body which is far reaching from the heart. So that's why, through evolutionary process these muscles have become thicker. Whereas the right ventricle, it has to push the deoxygenated blood just to the lung, which is just surrounding the two heart. So naturally, it has to go a lesser distance, so this wall is thinner. So this question you have to answer like this, that why the left ventricular wall is thicker than the right ventricular wall. So this is more or less about the heart, and now we have to study a little bit about the blood vessels. In human being, there are maybe 3 types of blood vessels: the veins, the arteries, and the capillaries. And you will see the constitution of the histology of the artery, veins, and capillaries are almost same like that of the heart. Here the outer is called the tunica externa, which is made up of a connective tissue. The tunica media, made up of smooth muscles, or what we call a non-striated muscles, and tunica intima, or what we call the innermost membrane. This is made up of endothelial cell or the epithelial cell. So only difference is, you will see the lumen where the blood is flowing in artery, this is smaller, and the lumen here is larger. That means in artery the blood is flowing with a greater pressure, vein the blood flows with a lesser pressure. So the muscle, the lumen is larger, the muscles are thinner. In case of artery, the muscles are thicker. As they have to bear more pressure, the lumen is narrow. And in capillaries, you don't have this connective tissue layer, neither the smooth muscle, you have only the innermost layer, which is one cell thick. So capillary is lined by endothelial cell or squamous epithelial cells, which makes the capillary able to leak, or it is permeable due to gaseous exchange or exchange of ions and all. Now we will just finish it off this chapter with the difference in the artery and the vein. The vein have thinner walls, artery have thicker walls. Artery take blood towards the organ, and veins take the blood away from the organs towards the heart. The lumen is larger, the lumen is narrower. Veins have valves, arteries do not have valves. Why? Because the vein mostly take the blood from the organ to the heart. So that's why there can be a backflow. So all this throughout the veins, the larger veins, the presence of this valve, semilunar valves, which prevents the backflow of the blood. Capillaries are thin. So I've told you all this thing. Now this is all about today's class. In the next class we are going to study more about the circulation, this pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. If you have any question, you can ask, put up the question, and subscribe to the channel so that you can view the other videos, and stay safe, stay at home. Thank you very much.